Mark Martin.
And Mark, you know, he started 16th, and he didn't make a lot of moves in the beginning of the race, but he's been getting a car about every 10 or 15 laps. He's had some good pit stops. Pat Tricing making good adjustments, and now he just cracked the top 10 up in 10th. And this paint scheme, we talked about the retro paint scheme. This was the paint scheme, the color of the car, back in 1989 when he won his very first NEXTEL Cup race at Rockingham. That contact he had with the 43 car early in the race, it takes Mark Martin a long time to get over something like that. He will come back. This is the battle here for basically about position 17 through 25th. See Jeff Burton in the 31 car up there, and we're riding with his teammate Kevin Harvick in the 29. He's in 19th position right now.
A lot of contenders in that pack, including Dale Jarrett in 25th in the UPS Ford. The Roush out front. Greg Biffle 1.4 seconds ahead of his teammate Kurt Busch, then Casey Kane, McMurray, and Mears. Welcome back to the Samsung Radio Shack 500 at Texas Motor Speedway in front of a huge Texas-sized crowd of roughly 200,000 people. They're watching this race cycle through as this man, Greg Biffle, has taken a backup car from 41st at the green flag to first and a 1.6 second lead over his teammate Kurt Busch. Casey Kane and Casey Mears, young guns in Dodges, 2.8 and 4.2 seconds off the lead. Michael Waltrip has just moved back up to 5th. He is 5 seconds back. Jamie McMurray is 6th.
This is the man been on the move right here. Casey Mears in this 41 car. And Dick Bergman, he just moved past his teammate Jamie McMurray as well as Michael Waltrip.
He did, and let's be sure to point out that Casey Mears is also in a backup car. Early in the practice, the first practice, he had a tire problem, wound up in the wall. They put the cover on that car, brought this one out. This car has never raced before. It's been tested. Casey never liked it, but after he practiced with it here in Texas, I saw him this morning on the way to driver intros. He had a huge smile on his face and said he likes this car now. Just talked to his crew chief, Jimmy Elledge, who said they can dial still more speed into this thing. It's pushing just a little bit.
Mears' best career finish 4th at Watkins Glen last year. Here's what happened in practice to Casey Mears.
This is right after practice started on Friday before qualifying. Now again, he had a tire problem obviously, but it was a cut tire. There was no performance issues there. And then when he actually went out in this backup car, as soon as they unloaded it, put it through inspection, he cut a right front down on it, but fortunately kept it out of the wall.
Pushing just a little bit, that's a happy car, and that's a really happy driver.
Pole sitter Ryan Newman falls a spot and out of the top 20 as Joe Nemechek goes by on the low side. Puts a smile on the face of those Fort Hood soldiers up in turn 3.
But Ryan Newman, Matt Borland, the 12 car, they've not been happy since they qualified that car on Friday. Got a great qualifying run in on Friday. We watched them in both practice sessions yesterday. They were wanting to make another run even when practice ended. They never got that car where they needed it.
I think you look at Ryan Newman and you can see why he's so fast. I mean, he can absolutely carry a car around here for a lap or two, but he can't do it for 500 miles.
See him racing Dave Blaney in the 07 car there. Remember, back on lap 2, Dave Blaney spun sideways off turn 4. Now he's up there trying to crack back into the top 20, still on the lead lap. Need to mention Bobby Labonte is back in the race right now, 98 laps down. So right now we only have 2 cars off the race track in the garage area that are making repairs. Johnny Sauter, Bobby Hamilton Jr. with Scott Wimmer and Jeff Green on the truck loaded up.
Greg Biffle goes past Labonte, not having a good day at his home track. Carl Edwards is one of the very few involved in one of the big 4 cautions for Rex today that has been able to, he's the only one who's been able to stay on the lead lap. He's presently 13th, 12 seconds back. Let's take you back to just after the start of the race. And Edwards gets in the back of Jeff Green after Dave Blaney has spun. That's where he got the damage, to the front of his Scott's Ford.
Similar to what we saw at Bristol when he got in the back of Hermie Sadler on the first couple laps of the race.
Jeannie?
Well, there's anybody that could spin this into a positive, it would be Mr. Edwards. The talk in the 99 pit, you know, at the early spin through the lawn is appropriate considering the sponsor. Scott's reminding us it's all National Lawn Month, so it's just all par for the course. And, of course, Carl in the car, he could care less. He was excited about driving 300 yesterday, 500 today. Said, this is fun. He keeps saying that repeatedly. These long runs are great. Coming in last time for the pit stop, just getting 4 tires, fuel, and a wedge adjustment. But he's having a great time, Matt.
Last week's win for Jeff Gordon made a big jump in the championship standings from 12 all the way up to 6, but he is struggling and struggling bad today. He's running back in the 14th position. After the last stop, he says the car has just gone wicked tight. They did the trifecta the last 2 stops, the track bar, wedge, and air pressure. They just cannot seem to get this car dialed in for Gordon.
And 1 spot ahead of Gordon, Carl Edwards about to inhale the point leader here, Jimmy Johnson in the Lowe's Chevrolet.
Well, they've been doing what they do best on that 48 team. You heard Rick Hendrick talk in our pre-race when he talked to Darrell. Chad believes in Jimmy, and Jimmy believes in Chad. When Chad tells Jimmy Johnson he's going to make that car better, Jimmy believes him.
They will overcome whatever they get thrown at them. I can promise you that.
And they will be there by the end of the day.
Oh, yeah.
12th place changes hands, and Ricky Rudd just ahead in 11th. It was all Dodge in qualifying, and now it's 2 Fords up front as Michael Waltrip moves around Casey Mears and goes back up to 4th place.
Yeah, his car's good on the long run. Looks like a little slow in the restarts, but comes on strong after a few laps.
Just ahead of them, Casey Kane in 3rd place, Steve.
Mike, Casey Kane just told Tommy Baldwin the car is shaking worse getting into the corners, but not as bad off the corners.
I still wonder if it's not a brake issue. I just wonder about that.
Mark Martin passed his Roush Racing teammate Matt Kenseth in the DeWalt Ford, and that moves Martin up to 7th. Mark Martin coming back toward the front. Greg Biffle, the leader, at 157 laps.
The Samsung Radio Shack 500 on Fox is brought to you by Budweiser, the official beer of NASCAR and proud sponsor of Dale Earnhardt Jr. and the number 8 car. And you can enter the weekly Gillette Young Guns Challenge. A lucky fan who correctly picks the top placing Gillette Young Gun each week. As you get a look at them, will win $5,000. Log on to GilletteYoungGuns.com for details and enter for a chance to win. The Gillette Young Gun Challenge is brought to you by M3 Power, the world's best shave. Roush Racing 1-2. In fact, 11 times they've finished 1-2 in races. The last time at New Hampshire last September. We're a few miles away from the halfway point here at the Great American Speedway. Greg Biffle, Kurt Busch leading Michael Waltrip. You've heard Darrell and Larry and Mike talk about things like interliners and B-blowers. To help illustrate that, down to the Ford cutaway car below the Hollywood Hotel, Jeff Hammer.
Chris, as Larry and Darrell have been talking about tires and some of the problems maybe we'll be having here at Texas, let's take a look at about the interliner. This is the interliner. It's the tire inside the tire that a lot of guys right now that have talked about adjusting the different pressures. You pressurize the small tire inside the bigger tire. Mike, also, Joey talked about how thin these tires are. So when you run over something, it's very easy to cut them. You put air in here. This just takes the air to the outer and the bigger part of the tire. This one here, you put air into the interliner. Those are the areas that Larry was talking about. When they equalize these 2 pressures, you can get a vibration. Or if you lose a wheel weight from around the tire, it can also make a vibration. You got to realize that the speeds that these cars are traveling, any kind of change can really give a driver a bad sensation. At almost 200 miles an hour, you want everything very smooth and very calm. To also protect the tire, a lot of the teams are sucking air from underneath the car and blowing it through the tube on the what we call the bead part of the race tire to keep it cooler. A lot of heat goes through the edge of the tires. You want to cool them as much as possible. And the one thing that Darrell also talked about, all these pit stops that we've had, you may have also warped the rotor coming down pit road. Again, anything to make a vibration through the steering wheel can affect the driver's feel and create a little bit of uncertainty. And he's always calling back to the pit saying, guys, I've got a vibration. It could be a number of things. And a lot of times that's what will make a crew chief just about go crazy.
Thanks, Jeff. Greg Biffle has taken the halfway sign at 167 laps here. 2.3 seconds up on his Roush Ford teammate Kurt Busch. Michael Waltrip third and closing. Waltrip is the quickest car on the racetrack right now. Jamie McMurray's crew looking over tires and wheels.
I think they're looking more at the wheels right here, and we were being told as they're doing this that they're having a lot of visitors from other teams. Remember all the wheel issues we've had the last couple of weeks. What they're looking at is the lug holes in the center of that wheel to see if they see any indication that a problem may be lurking.
Most of these teams run Aero brand wheels, although teams are free to pick from any manufacturer. Their wheel was redesigned this year, and there is concern about the raised area in that center section that acts like a lock washer to keep tension on the lug nut. There you see the nut glued onto the wheel in that raised area.
And that right there gives the answer to a question we get about 10 or 12 times a week from fans. How do they put the lug nuts on there? And it's simply with just weather strip adhesive, and the end of the lug stud is slick. When they throw the wheel up there, the lug nuts hang on the end of the lug stud, and the tire changer is able to tighten them.
Jack Roush has won here 3 times with Jeff Burton, Mark Martin, and Matt Kenseth. And the 5 Roush cars are now all within the top 10.
Got that right.
All of the Roush cars.
All 5 of them are in the top 10 right now.
Now Carl Edwards has broken into the top 10 after those problems early in the race.
Steve, how about the driver in position 2, our defending Nextel Cup champ?
Boy, I'll tell you, Mike Joy, Kurt Busch gives Jimmy Fennick great feedback. He just said, my car has gone from loose to tight. I am hurting it a little bit off the corner. Kurt's talking about adding air pressure to the right rear tire to get more bite. They will pit in about 18 to 20 laps.
Steve, what he might want to do is let Michael go by and follow him, because Michael has caught him, and they're running entirely different lines. He may want to see where Michael's running, see if he can get up there and run with him.
And we see Michael right there at about the 3rd groove up the racetrack. There's only one more groove between him and the wall.